So Course in Miracles, text chapter 30, the new beginning, and we now move on to 30.7, the justification for forgiveness. So why must we forgive until there's nothing more to forgive? Please make sure that you're muted before I continue. I can see there's still one or two of you still unmuted. Anger is never justified. Another word for anger is self-pity or victimhood. Attack has no foundation. Another word for attack is complaining. So remember this next time you ask a question. Are you asking from a place of anger? Or are you asking to attack a point of view? Or are you truly asking to understand? If you're asking to understand, then always ask from a place of understanding. Give your understanding before you ask the question. Or you're going to receive a mirror of your attack or of your anger, because you can only receive a mirror of what you're attacking. And the teacher may give you a perfectly honest answer. You'll see it as an attack because you're attacked. So remember the non-dual space. You're only going to see what you are. So if you're feeling insulted, it's because you're insulting. If you're feeling attacked, it's because you're attacking. If you feel resisted, it's because you're resisting. When are you going to figure out, teacher for God, that non-duality means no duality, oneness. And even oneness is the essence, all-encompassing essence of all. And so if you're trapped in duality, you're only going to see yourself everywhere. So whatever you're projecting is what you're experiencing. The teacher could say hello, and you're going to hear, go fuck yourself. Do you get that? Teacher's going to smile at you, and you're going to think he's grumpy. Teacher's going to give you clear direction, and you're going to think he's misguiding you. Teacher's going to try and bring clarity into your awareness. You're going to disagree because you want more darkness. You want to keep telling your story. It is here escape from fear begins and will be made complete. That's why you're here. Here is where you always are, except you think you're here in the world, inside a body. You're not. You're always here. You're here in the dreaming mind, in your dreaming mind. And yet here is the real world given in exchange for dreams, the dream you've made of terror. For it is on this forgiveness rests. And it is but natural that it rests on nothing to forgive. You are not asked to offer pardon where attack is due and would be justified. So if someone, has done something atrocious, you're not asking them to forgive them because they require pardon, when in actual fact, someone that's going around murdering little children needs to be stopped. But you're asked to not hold it in within yourself. For that would mean that you forgive a sin by overlooking what is really there. This is not pardon. That's insanity. For it would assume that by responding in a way which is not justified, your pardon will become the answer to attack that has been made. So someone's going around murdering babies and you just sat there watching. Are you mad? You can say it's just an illusion. Go ahead and murder the babies. There's no baby. There's no murderer. There's no you. Yes, but when you see something that's atrocious and is dishing out the horrific suffering, you put a stop to it. It doesn't mean you don't forgive it. You realize it didn't happen. It happened in a dream, and you want this dream to come to an end. You want the dream of suffering to come to an end. So you show up lovingly. Because if you just forgive and you just stand by and you watch it, it's not real. That pardon is inappropriate by being granted where it's not due. So you're not pardoning atrocities. You're not just saying, go ahead and murder everybody. That's just insanity, because it's aspects of yourself harming aspects of yourself. Pardon is always justified. Forgiveness is justified. It has a sure foundation. You do not forgive the unforgivable, nor overlook a real attack that calls for punishment. You don't overlooking it. Salvation does not lie in being asked to make unnatural responses which are inappropriate to what is real. So someone's going around murdering babies and you can put a stop to it. You put a stop to it. But it asks you instead, it merely asks that you respond appropriately to what is not real by not perceiving what has not occurred. So you put a stop to it, but you don't harbor resentment. You don't harbor guilt. You let go. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. In actual fact, they've done nothing. I saw it because something in me needed to see it. And I forgive myself, I forgive the experience. And I jumped in and I put a stop to it. And then you abide. Because there's no doer of deeds, and there's no thinker of thoughts. But you don't just look the other way. Turning the other cheek doesn't mean that you allow yourself to get beaten up. It just means that you realize it never happened. You're turning the cheek on yourself. If pardon were unjustified, you would be asked to sacrifice your rights when you return forgiveness for attack. And that's not what it's asking for. But you are merely asked to see forgiveness as the natural reaction to distress that rests on error and thus calls for help. Forgiveness is the only sane response. It keeps your rights from being sacrificed. This understanding is the only change that lets the real world, the new happy world, rise to take the place of dreams of terror. Fear cannot arise unless attack is justified. And if it had a real foundation, pardon would have none, because it's not true. So you're forgiving the unreal. The real world is achieved when you perceive the basis of forgiveness as quite real and fully justified. While you regard it as a gift unwarranted, it must uphold the gift you would forgive. Unjustified forgiveness is attack because it's actually resentment. And this is all the world can ever give. It pardons sinners sometimes, but remains aware that they have sinned. And that's why you hear people say, I'll forgive them, but I'll never forget, which means it still remains real. You still suffer the idea of it. And so they do not merit the forgiveness that it gives. That's the typical dualistic approach. This is the false forgiveness, which religion promotes and which the world employs to keep the sense of sin alive. And recognizing God is just, it seems impossible his pardon could be real. God knows not that this world has happened. He simply knows that his son is dreaming. And thus is the fear of God the sure result of seeing pardon as unmerited. Because why should God forgive those horrible little Hitler-type characters? You know, the people that have gone and created wars and murdered children. No, God hasn't forgiven them for murdering children. God has forgiven them, the dreamer, for dreaming. 1 million billion people, and one of them went around murdering children. God realizes there's nothing to forgive. You simply had a dream that was not real. The universe is not real. No one who sees himself as guilty can avoid the fear of God. But if you get onto the non-dual path and you haven't fully forgiven, and you still think you're guilty, all it's going to do is create confusion because you're trapped in your guilt, wanting to understand non-duality. Forgive it, forget it, practice forgiveness, and don't worry about non-duality. It comes of its own accord when all forgiveness is gone, because when everything is forgiven and you realize it's all you created it all. Where's non-duality now? It's all of you. Where's the duality? It's gone in the forgiveness. But he is saved from this dilemma if he can forgive. The mind must think of its creator as it looks upon itself. The mind must think of its creator as it looks upon itself. It either looks upon its creator as the dreamer of dreams, and then it believes it's a dream, or it looks upon the essence of itself, God, and knows it's an extension of God. If you can see your brother's merits pardon, okay, you have learned forgiveness is your right as much as his. So your brother always merits being pardoned. And if you realize that everything is to be forgiven because none of it's real, then you realize no matter what you've done, you're forgiven too, because nothing you did is real. Nor will you think that God intends for you a fearful judgment that your brother does not merit. Why would God judge you and forgive your brother? You're all activities of the Christ mind's a sleeping mind, your dreaming mind. For it is the truth that you can merit neither more nor less than he, because you are all activities in the same dreaming mind, your dreaming mind, you, the Christ dreaming mind. Forgiveness recognized as merit will be healed. Merited will be healed. It gives the miracle its strength to overlook illusions. This is how you learn that you must be forgiven too. I did nothing. This is what it truly means to I need do nothing, because you can't do anything. There's no doer, there's no thinker, there's no actor, there's no feeler. There's no sensor, there's no body, there's no world, there's no universe, there's no beings, there's nothing. There's just the essence of God. You're just dreaming, and you've dreamt all of this up. Realize, Holy Son of God, it's just a dream. Nothing here is real. Who's asking questions? What's trying to understand it? What's trying to enlighten? How can you enlighten? You are the light. How can you enlighten that which is already lit? How can you transcend when you already are the essence of it? What are you transcending? These are stories, these are concepts we use to bring you into the non-dual space. Once you reach the non-dual space, every other story told to get you here, forget it. Don't go back to it. Don't try and understand it. If you're confused, you're stuck in duality, trying to understand non-duality. And you're going to be torn, because it's not going to make sense. Non-duality cannot make sense to someone who believes they're a body separated from everybody else, and everybody else has caused their suffering. You're going to be trapped. It's going to confuse you. It's going to drive you insane. It's going to make you angry. If that's the case, go be still. Go find the silent stillness and just abide. Listen without ask. Don't listen to ask a question. You listen and you ask no question. You be still. And you let it absorb, and you abide, and the minute something comes your way that you don't like, you forgive, because you realize it came my way, it wasn't real. It's showing me what's wrong with me. It's not wrong with them. It's what's in me that's wrong. It's in me that's confused. There can be no appearances that cannot be overlooked. Nothing. Because it's an appearance. Or if they were, it would be necessary first that there be some sin that stands beyond forgiveness. And that's not true. There is nothing that stands beyond forgiveness, because nothing stands. There would be an error that is more than a mistake, a special form of error that remains unchangeable, eternal, and beyond correction or escape. And that's what you think when you believe you're separate, when you still believe you're a body, but you're now trying to understand the non-duality of you and God as one. There would be one mistake that had the power to undo creation and to make a world that could replace it and destroy the will of God. And that's why you're still dreaming, because you believe that's still possible. You believe that you've done something. You believe that you could be separated. You believe that something's being done to you. You believe the world's hurt you. You believe that you've done the world wrong. You have not. There's no you, there's no world, there's nothing. There's just God. And you're in the extension of that, dreaming that you're not the extension of that. You are the Son of God. You are the Christ. You are the dreamer. And the dreamer is one with that which created it. Only if this were possible could there be some appearances that could withstand the miracle and not be healed by it. When you realize what you are, you move into permanent healing. It doesn't mean the body's going to live forever. What heals? The mind heals. The body responds to the mind's healing. There will come a time when you put the body down anyway. You're not going to live forever in a body. There is no body. So this device will be put down, and it'll be put down at will. And you hear those sages when they just decide, okay, today's the day, perfectly healthy. Today's the day. It's time to go. They go to sleep. They don't wake up. No suffering. There is no surer proof idolatry is that is what you wish than a belief that there are some forms of sickness and some forms of joylessness forgiveness cannot heal. This means that you prefer to keep some idols and are prepared as yet to let, not yet, as yet to let all idols go. So you want to still hang on to some things, and very often those obstacles to peace were your first love. Things, places, events, and it's always got to do with some need for relationship, recognition, glorification, being the hero of the dream, being recognized, being validated, being aggrandized, being recognized, being loved, being cherished, being remembered, being praised. It's always got to do with that specialness of the body-mind ego illusion. And thus you think that some appearances are real and not appearances at all. You think it's real. Oh, the world's an illusion, but you're real. Be not deceived about the meaning of a fixed belief that some appearances are harder to look past than others are. You do that, and all Course in Miracles students do that, and you hear it all the time. Why? This is an illusion, but Jesus is real. May leave a fork. Seriously, how bizarre to think that shit up. You know, it's just, and no one's ever met him, but we make this nonsense up. No one's ever heard him. No one's ever heard him speak, but of course they claim to hear his voice. Of course, they all understand Hebrew. Or of course, now you understand Spanish and Portuguese and English and Afrikaans. Now, of course, die liewe Jesus praat in Afrikaans ook. Ja, my liewe Fok, Marlies. Or is it Charlies now? It always means you think forgiveness must be limited. And it's only left for an exclusive little group of people. And you always think that, okay, this is an illusion, but my soul is real. It's a concept. No one's ever seen a soul. And those of you that have tapped into the awareness of the awareness, what is there? The silent stillness of the essence of that. What is that? Can't explain. And when this body goes, does that remain? Oh, yes, it does, and you know it. Because once you know it, you know it. What is that? That's all you are. Is there a spirit inside a body? Is there a soul? Even I was mistaken in my early understanding, because I couldn't distinguish the difference between awareness and essence and illusionary construct. Now I know different. And you need to be so willing that you even throw your old teachings away and realize beyond this. And you have set a goal of partial pardon and escape from guilt for you. If you think you're innocent, but the world is guilty, you are trapped and you are confused. And the world's going to punish you for your confusion. Why? Because your confusion will come back at you like a vicious mirror. What can this be except a false forgiveness of yourself? And this is always associated with some form of spiritual mumbo jumbo, some form of spiritual specialness, always involved with some empathetic, deep sense, deep feeling, deep sensation, deep emotion nonsense. Because the ego, it says, okay, well, if you're an intellect, you're better than the emotional ones. And the emotional ones go, if we're more emotional, we're better than the intellectual ones. And so we keep ourselves separated. Left brain, right brain, all of that nonsense. Okay. Be still and know I am. And if you cannot forgive all of it, you've not forgiven yourself. And you'll keep yourself special. And of course, you'll have your special relationship with a special body-mind objectification, deity, the Jesus, the Buddha, the Krishna, the Ramana Maharishi, the Guru, the whatever. But you still understand, but you believe in non-duality. Is you, the Guru, and God. And then you say things like Guru and God are one, but you still have a Guru. And God forbid you still genuflect and kiss his feet, because that just makes me want to puke. What the? And what can this be except a false forgiveness of yourself and everyone who seems to be apart from you? Trust me, if you were truly that way and you were that guru and someone wants to genuflect and kiss your teeth, you'd say, stand up, look me in the eyes. You and I are one. You wouldn't let them do that unless you have some egoic hot air requirement. It must be true that the miracle can heal all forms of sickness, or it cannot heal at all. And what is really being healed? The mind. And when the mind heals, what happens to the illusionary construct? You put it down. Its purpose cannot be judged, be to judge which forms are real and which appearances are true. None of it is. If one appearance must remain apart from healing, one illusion must be part of truth, and there is no such thing as anything illusionary as a part of truth. And you could not escape all guilt, but only some of it. And so remember, the minute you objectify anything, including Jesus, you keep yourself trapped in the dream. You must forgive God's Son entirely. And we're not talking about Jesus. We're talking about yourself as the only one, which is the God's Son. If there's only you, there's only God's Son. And that's why it says this course is an individual course. These lecture type lessons, it's still you on your own doing the course. The minute you think a group is going to enlighten you, forget it. You're trapped. You're trapped in duality. There's only you, the dreamer. There's only you, 8 billion you. And yet there's only one. Or you will keep an image of yourself that is not whole. And you will remain afraid to look within because you realize that inside is still that unforgiven thought. And so you're going to see it outside you. So you can avoid looking in. You're going to see it out there, and it's going to come at you like a freight train, often, repeatedly, all the time, and find escape from every idol there. Salvation rests on faith. Faith there cannot be some forms of guilt that you cannot forgive. And so there cannot be appearances that have replaced the truth about God's Son. No appearances, including Jesus. Look on your brother with the willingness to see him as he is. It's all Christ. It's all the Son of God. All of it equal. And do not keep a part of him outside your willingness that he be healed. Don't keep your grudges and say healing's for all those people, but not for that group. To heal is to make whole, and whole is one. And what is whole can have no missing parts that have been kept outside, because there's nothing outside God. Forgiveness rests on recognizing this and being glad. There cannot be some forms of sickness which the miracle must lack the power to heal. If you're not being healed, it's because you haven't fully believed it's possible. A part of you still believes you need some form of magic, some form of pill, some form of medicine. And maybe that's the medicine path you need to go. Maybe you need to go to see a doctor. Maybe you need to cut out the tumor. Maybe you need radiation. Fine, that's healing too. But until the mind is healed, you'll just repeat the lesson and just recreate the illness. You, God's Son, is perfect, or you cannot be God's Son, nor will you know him if you think he does not merit the escape from guilt in all its consequences, the effects, and all its physical forms. The effects of its consequences is the physical form of the world. There is no way to think of him but this. If you would know the truth about yourself, because he is yourself. I thank you, Father, for your perfect Son, for myself, and in his glory I will see my home. Here is the joyful statement that there are no forms of evil that can overcome the will of God. The glad acknowledgement that guilt has not succeeded by your wish to make illusions real. And what is this except a simple statement of truth? Be thyself knowing. Look on your brother with this hope in you, and you will understand he could not make an error that could change the truth in him. It is not difficult to overlook mistakes that have been given no effects. It is not difficult to overlook mistakes that have been given no effects. And when you need explanations for mistakes and explanations for illusions, what do? You make the mistakes, the illusions real, and then you want an understanding of them. The only correction is the non-dual path. Return to silence. Be still. No, I am. But what you see as having power to make an idol of the Son of God will not pardon you. Will not pardon, for he has become to you a graven image and sign of death. Graven image, a projection of yourself. Is this your Savior? Is his Father wrong about his Son? Or have you been deceived in him yourself, who has been given you to heal? Do you not see that your brother is there, given you as a mirror of you? For your salvation and deliverance can only be when you recognize all the world is a mirror of you. If it confuses you, in the sense that you don't understand it, so you don't understand yourself. And the only way you can understand yourself and understand it is to forgive, to abide in silent stillness. Because you cannot make sense of the senseless. You cannot find purpose in that which has no purpose. You cannot find meaning in that which was created out of a meaningless lie. You cannot find satisfaction. You cannot find the permanence, which is what you want. You don't just want temporal joy. You've had temporal joy all the time. You have lots of little temporal joys, 11 minutes at a time. Doesn't make you happy. You want the permanence of it. And no illusion has given you permanence. Nothing you see has given you the permanence of the security of the eternal peace, the eternal joy, the eternal love you seek. And of course, it won't give it to you because you are it. And until you know yourself with total clarity, you can't know you are peace, love, and joy. And if you don't know you are peace, love, and joy, you won't know the essence of God. Until you know the essence of self, you can't know the essence of your Father. And once you know the essence of yourself as that which is the silent stillness, the ever-extending, joyful, silent, infinite lightness of being, until you know that, you know no thing. And if you know no thing, you remain confused, trapped in delusions, seeking for answers where no answer can be given. Because there is no answer than be thyself knowingly, be thyself silently, be thyself in total silence, in total stillness, in total gratitude. That's the answer to all questions. To all questions. Who's asking the question? Shh. Be quiet. Abide. Confused? Be quiet. Enraged? Be quiet. Angry? Be quiet. Guilty? Be quiet. And know I am. I am as God. Be as you are. Be still. Be silently still. Be silently still as you are. Abide in gratitude and know thyself as that which is the grace, the ever-extending grace of God. Amen. We chat again tomorrow.